How is everyone doing? Give us a all clear if you guys can hear me.
How is everyone doing?
Yep, and that seems to be working fine. Bozza, T, usual suspects, love it. Absolutely love it. What does it look like if I turn this off? No, keep that on. Eli, thank you for joining. All right. Got a few people in already, which is fantastic. I am very appreciative of the usual suspects coming in nice and early. As I said, I know Tuesdays there's a lot of footy shows on YouTube. Everyone gets on. It's fantastic. We've got a few things to talk about tonight, which I'm very excited about, which I'm also very skeptical about, which I'm also very interested to see how it all unfolds. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Thank you everyone for joining another episode of the Black and White United Show live here on my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Andreas. As I said, thank you for joining. First and foremost, today's episode of the Black and White United Show Live is brought to you by New Homes Victoria, your local builder. Please make sure that you jump on Instagram and you give our sponsors a follow. So make sure you follow New Homes Victoria. Give the Hopper Bros Barbecue on Instagram a follow. Also, they're doing a fantastic job sponsoring a lot of our videos and stuff like that too. And with the Hopper Bros also, we're going to be doing, I'm going to make a little segment on the lives, which is going to be my big call of the week. I did one last week and I'm going to do a big call to finish off the episode in about an hour's time. So we will get to that. And just I'm writing that down so I don't forget, which is great. Guys, leave all your comments, all your thoughts and everything in the chat and we'll get to it. If I've got enough time and we cover everything with the last 10 minutes, we might do a fan cam. I might just put the link out there. Whoever jumps on, we can talk to one person quickly. That'll be towards the end if we get enough time. So on today's episode, what I really want to discuss is like just a couple of things, obviously with the changes that we've got, which is something that we really want to I want to talk about because I want to see the vibe of people. I want to see what people are thinking, if it's going to be a detriment to us against Freo or if it's actually going to work out pretty decent. I'm sort of sitting in the middle because I'm not that fast. I think we've got a very fast and very quick side. The other thing too, which I'll talk about first, is also there is an update with Brayden Maynard's contract. Tom Morris made a post about 2 hours ago on his Twitter. So we're going to get to that pretty quickly. And of course, if there's anything else that you guys want to talk about, chuck it in the comments and we'll go from there. The very first thing though we'll talk about and we'll just get it out of our system is obviously just a quick recap of the game against Geelong. Now, most of you would have seen my review. I was pretty blatantly honest with the whole thing. I found that being at the ground and seeing everything unfold, there was probably a couple of things which I didn't mention in my review when I was doing the first part, which is a bit boring or whatever it was, just going over before I had my little rant about the umpires and stuff, which I don't want to get into too much tonight, and I'll try my hardest not to. And that goes to everyone in the comments. We'll just let it go. We move on pretty quickly from the debacle that was on Saturday night. But what I do want to talk about is our defensive line against Geelong. I found that, and it always seems to happen against the Cats. It's happened to us even in 23 when we beat them twice during that season. The first time we beat them by 10 goals, whatever it was, and the second time we beat them by 8 or 9 points. But just a few weeks before the finals when we were playing that shit sort of football leading into the finals. Last season was a great game against them as well, and they just got us. And then even 2022 was a fantastic game. It was Dacos's first, where he kicked his first goal in AFL. That was an awesome game too. But they seem to have the edge over us a little bit. But in regards to our defensive line, I noticed we were playing very, very high up. We were playing like at some points Darcy Moore was in the center of the ground, and they just got those over the top kicks really easy. It's like 2 or 3 times they're just free, and you got Steele Sidebottom running back on his own as a defensive wingman, and then De Konin's taking an absolute hanger on him. You know what I mean? Like, there's just little tiny tweaks in our game. If we had to just stop that, the whole ending for that game doesn't even happen. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, we should have won. I don't necessarily think it was Geelong beating us as such, even though they did. It was more us just like throwing the game away and then having to fight so hard, tooth and nail, towards the end of that game, and almost pinching it. In the day, the game was still in our hands, and the fairy tale was there for Jack Cripps to obviously do. But at the same time, we can talk about the umpires all we want. Yes, 100% they influenced the game. There's no doubt about it. Any blind Freddie could have seen that. But with that being said, it's also on us to not get back into that position. So that's pretty much my last thoughts I'm going to have. I obviously said my rant. So if you're on this live stream now and you haven't seen my review of the game when this is done, go through. It goes through about 20 minutes. It's as honest and raw as you're going to get from a Collingwood supporter that was there. So, it's a bit frustrating. But that's that. So we'll just go through some of the comments quickly. Boz is here. If you're still in here, Boz, I'd love to get your thoughts on stuff as well. He says, go Pies. Mellows in the house. I just love it how it's the usual suspects. I mean, I've even got a North Melbourne supporter just chilling in here. That's pretty awesome. Yassel Chris, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Manny, there's a few things I want to say. Your passion, your smarts, like your smarts in football and the way you talk, mate. There's a Greek saying, it's called Boniros. There was a song back in the 40s or 50s. It was, Yorgos ine Boniros, or Yorgos George, he's shifty smart. You know what I mean? And your comments and the stuff you're saying, it's smart, it's shifty smart. I love it. So keep it up. Here we've got Manny saying that they are young, no excuses. I said it from the start. Bruzzy not going anywhere. And we're going to talk about Brayden Maynard very soon. We've also got here Mick jumping on. Love you, mate. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Appreciate defense and midfield still great, but no checkers on McStay hurts. How we trained with the forwards apparently. And on that too, and I'm going to get to it because that's another point I want to talk about. At training today, my mate Dan Botter, he was there. If you're watching, it's going on. He was at training today and he said that Frampton was training with the forwards. Frampton was training with the forwards today, and Charlie Dean was in a black top training with the defenders. So I don't know. I'm thinking there could be something very shifty happening by Craig McRae later on, or if he's planning it, maybe even against Adelaide, to bring Charlie Dean in, and if we have to throw Frampton up forward, if Charlie West isn't available, even for the Adelaide game, that could be a possibility also. Not something that you want, but hey, it's an option. And the fact, and I've said this a million times, the fact that we have options, we had it in 23 to an extent. We didn't have it last year. Last year, we were moving magnets, playing players out of position, whatever it is. This season, right, even now we're starting to see, not even injuries, we're managing players and we have to move the magnets. The best part about it is the fact that we've got players that can play multiple positions. And if you can't, like Josh Dacos, he's probably best on the wing, but he's playing on the half-back flank at the moment because you can't move Lipinski and you can't move Crisp. Still, Sidebottoms had to go into the middle because of it. So this is something that's so good that we've got. So I'm pretty happy with that. James is in the house too. James is in the fan cams last week. We had all our technical difficulties, but we got him back on. I don't know what it is. I think I'm going to buy a new laptop soon and sort this shit out, but we'll see how we go. I'm going overseas soon, so I might do it when I get back because the cashola, mate, open my wallet now and the moths are flying out. Manny turns around and says the defensive line needs to be on the 50-meter arc at most, no higher, or we get damaged. See, I don't mind it if some of them have to push up, like if Darcy Moore has to push up and follow his man into the middle, but you got to have some coming back because we're spread too far and we've gone too high up and the ball's just like popping over, which it cost us so much last season. And against Geelong especially, and against Sydney in that game that we actually unveiled the flag, in that round one game against Sydney, mate, they were just coming over the top of us non-stop and we were just all over the shop. And I'm just worried if we have that high upper line, it's going to happen because we are such a good football team running forward and we are a good football team running back. But when we play against the top sides, right, we're going to get exposed. And that's a big issue that we have to obviously worry about there. Can we get Manny on again, please? Love his thoughts. If I've got enough time later towards the end, I will put the link up, but we'll see how we go here. Time to smash the Dockers, Matt. I hope so. And I'm going to talk about the team quite quickly. All right, so I'm going to leave it there for the comments. I'm going to get to the comments again soon, but just keep them firing, and we'll go from there. So the first thing that I did want to talk about now, we've had a bit of a chat about the Geelong game, so we'll move on for that, and we're going to look ahead now. So the first thing that I did want to talk about too is Brayden Maynard's future. So Tom Morris has posted tonight on his Twitter account about 2 hours ago, roughly. He said, free agent Brayden Maynard's first priority is staying at Collingwood. That's his strong preference. He wants to stay and be a Pie for life. So when I hear that, right, it's comforting. When I hear that, it's like loyalty. But also when I hear that, I got the Brodie Grundy alarm bells like singing at the back that, you know, I know it's a different situation, but he wanted to be a Pie for life. Adam Treloar did as well. I mean, you put those two players into our side now when we'll run away with the flag at the moment. So, but look, it is what it is. The last part of that tweet says he'll only, and this is the part that I wanted to talk about, he'll only entertain other suitors, and there are multiple beyond North Melbourne if a deal can't be reached at the Pies. So there'll be more on Channel 9 tonight at 6, which has already happened, and obviously Footy Classified at 9:45. So when this stream ends, jump on to Footy Classified and hear what they have to say in regards to his contract. Now, if it's not North Melbourne, obviously you'd think that there might be some interstate teams that would dangle a little carrot in front of him, but I doubt that he's going to move interstate. If it's other Melbourne clubs and it's not just North Melbourne, obviously, and it's a bit ironic, full circle moment, but Melbourne would definitely be one of them. I also think St Kilda, with the cash that they've got, if something happened where De Koning didn't go to St Kilda, I think St Kilda will be well after Brayden Maynard. And the other one I'm thinking too, which is a bit of the left field one, but obviously they're dying for experience and they've probably got a bit of cash lined up because they've got a lot of youngsters, would be Richmond. You know, and it's as if you have to travel far. I don't think that's the case, but I think there'll be another club like Richmond, St Kilda, Melbourne, North Melbourne. They're probably the ones that I believe, and this is based on no actual fact. I'm just going by what he said in my personal opinion, that I do think that they'll probably be the clubs that will be after him regardless anyway. So that's all I've really got to say about that one there. The next point that I really wanted to, and the other one too is, it could be, if it is an interstate club, it could be Port Adelaide or Adelaide. I reckon they're probably the other two that would be tempted to throw something on there as well. So, and obviously Port, after they ended up losing Dan Houston, I reckon there's probably something there going into the waters. So Mark Sinran said, so it appears that they're going to hold Charlie West back a bit longer. Now, on this is another point I wanted to make. So this is where Manny can get involved too, and I'll catch up with the chat in a minute. I had a theory about Charlie West, and obviously after I posted my video, apparently it became blindly obvious to everybody, but whatever. Obviously he got held back in the VFL, and judging by Fly's presser today, they wanted him to play this game 100%. Now, Manny's made some very good points on my show, on Anth's show, on Pies Footy. They're going to debut him at the MCG. Now, he probably will get a debut at the MCG against Adelaide, the way things are coming about, 100%. Personally, I would probably debut him against a team like North Melbourne at Marvel instead, or even a St Kilda at Marvel, depending on the matchups and, you know, who's being rested or whatever. But he probably will get the debut at the MCG against Adelaide if his foot holds up. Now, he is fit to play from what we know. Even though he had a foot injury, went for scans or whatever, he trained fully today and he's put his hand up for selection, and the club's looking at it quite heavily, and they are going to fly him over to Perth. I don't understand, if you're not going to play him, right, why fly him over? Give him a complete rest. Don't even put him as an emergency, because if it's, you know, you're debuting a kid last minute and he's got the slightest injury cloud against him, don't debut him. Don't travel him. Don't do nothing. Just keep him at home. Don't play VFL. Lock yourself in your bedroom and just chill, you know, and then get ready for training next week and go from there. That's what personally I would do, but it looks like they're going to fly him, and it looks like they're seriously considering putting him in. Who he comes in for, the only one that he can possibly come in for is like a Membry or a Cox, or if they really wanted to rest someone like a Jamie Elliott, which I don't think that they're going to do, simply because of we've lost like 800 games experience, like with these players out. So on that too, I haven't got it up here, which I should have got it, but I was running a bit late to get on the live today with the kids and stuff like that and getting prepared. But with the team that we've got selected, if you go onto the website and you have a look at it, I'm convinced, and people, and I think Freo now are favourites for this game, believe it or not, or whatever, but I'm convinced that we are going to run this football team completely off the ground. The pace that we've injected into this football team is going to be unreal. People might think, they're lacking all this experience and stuff, but we've got premiership players coming into the side. We've got players that are dying, that are frothing at the mouth for a spot on in this football team, and that are ready to go. So I don't think it's going to matter too much. I'm actually pretty happy with the team that's been chosen, considering who we've got out. But that's for that, and I'll do my preview tomorrow, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow. Obviously, my preview, that'll drop around, when will that drop? Anytime between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock tomorrow. That'll probably come on YouTube, so I'll be looking forward to that. But yeah, there's not really much you can say about that now. We've got to wait until see. We'll probably get some more news tomorrow on who's going to be the sub, or potentially who's going to be the sub, and if they do, like once they do their little training run in the West, and then we'll find out what happens here. The one thing that I am glad about, and I want to touch on this before we move to the next subject, and this has just come into my head now. There's been a whole heap of shit put on Mason Cox for his performance. Now, I'm telling you, and like it still baffles me to the extent of where I don't understand the logic of some of our supporters and some of like AFL fans in general. We are a better side when Mason Cox plays. Now, I understand he dropped a few marks against Geelong. I understand against Brisbane he missed 2 easy shots on goal, right? But his aerial presence, and that he got subbed against Geelong, but it was the right time to do it because we needed the pace coming into it, and Hoskin Elliott was the perfect sub. Hoskin Elliott is a perfect sub for us regardless anyway, but I'll talk about who I think is going to be the sub this week, and that's part of my big call that's brought to you by the Hopper Bros Barbecue on Instagram, and you'll get that towards the end of the show. But the aerial presence of Mason Cox, for me, does wonders for our football team. It also chops out Darcy Cameron in the ruck and brings him forward. And I think Darcy Cameron is very underrated when he is in front of goal and when he is sitting in the goal square, because it means that he has to, no matter what, because he's the biggest one there, the tallest one there, he has to take the main defender. And when he takes the main defender, that's when the triple M's explode. So you've got to have Mason Cox in the team. I understand against some teams we could be going too tall, and I appreciate that argument. And I understand with some of the matchups and stuff like that, you're going to have to maybe take him out because it's too tall and whatever. And I'm a realist. I get that. But when he's in the side and his aerial presence and his contested ball and he brings it to ground, and I haven't even started talking about, he is probably the best tap alone ruckman in the competition. Like, he's that tall, and he just, like, you saw the game against Brisbane, where he was just, and Nick Dacos was just running through, and that's what we need. He's not going to have a good game every day, but it's the role and the presence he has in the team. It's just, for me, it's just a no-brainer, but it is what it is. The last thing I want to talk about before I jump back into some of your comments and stuff like that is the fact that we could, and I think now I'm starting to see the logic of the Collingwood coaching staff and the management of the side, and I think a lot of people are too. We could be seeing Tom Mitchell back very soon, touch wood, provided there's no injuries to him going forward now for the rest of the season. Now, is there a world, and this is a question that we're probably going to have to be asking within the next, this is a question that we're going to have to ask probably within the next month of football. Is there room for players like Tom Mitchell and Ned Long to be in the same side. Now, if I got asked this question, I was talking about it probably 3 weeks ago when Ned Long pretty much started breaking out and stuff like that, especially before Gather End, where he just dominated. I would have said no way. Absolutely no way there was a chance for him to for them to play in the same side. Now things have obviously developed a bit more. We're managing players like Pendlebury. We're managing players like Jordan De Goey, which I think is a massive one. So with that all involved, if Tom Mitchell can get himself right and play in the twos potentially this week or next week, get some minutes up and see how he goes, even just half a game of football or whatever, and he leads into the bye week going towards King's birthday. Now, if you see the promos for King's birthday, he's doing the promos. And I understand because he's obviously not travelled to Perth and all that type of stuff. But I think that, because I originally, before he had the second setback, they were marking down around Anzac Day. And I know that because I heard him talking at training. When I was at training, I was sitting there like a fangirl listening over the fence. And I heard them talk. Anzac Day was his target. Obviously, with the setback, you'd think that pushing towards the mid-season. So I reckon around King's birthday, if everything goes well, that's when you'll see him play. I don't think they'll risk it at Marvel. I don't think they'll risk an interstate game, even though I don't think we have one. And I don't think they'll play him against Hawthorn, because even if he's ready, because probably his old side, big game, intensity and stuff like that, maybe get him in for the Melbourne game, just give him that extra week or whatever. And then he has that game. And then I think we've got the bye after it. So he has that respite right after. So it was put on the Collingwood website today in the injury list and stuff like that. I'm not going to go through all the injury list. I just want to specifically talk about Tom Mitchell and Jared Wade's a small paragraph on Tom Mitchell was Tom Mitchell has made great progress in his return from a foot injury and he's likely to return to the VFL this weekend. Mitchell has one more training session to get through. If all clear, he will play limited minutes on Saturday with the plan to increase game time over the coming weeks. So I think he's going to have 2 to 3 weeks in the twos just to see how he goes. Don't even be surprised if he plays this week, has a complete week off, goes back the week after, just to get that sort of continuity in his legs and probably just give himself and just manage it leading up. But really, you want him to be match fit because it's okay doing time trials at training and sprinting and all this jargon at training. The second you step out in the footy field and you play, it's completely different. It even goes to local level. I mean, last year I did a full preseason and then it got to even just, we didn't even have a practice match. I played straight into round one, and this is like thirds Friday night footy in EDFL, and the intensity for just like the round one compared to, an intra-club match or whatever it was is next level. So I can't even imagine what it would be like going from VFL to AFL. The gap is just ridiculous, but that's the only way that he can get his match fitness up. So you're going to have to play him as much as possible. So I'll get to your comments now. That's my thoughts about Tom Mitchell. So I'm expecting him to be ready by Queen's birthday. It's not my big call, but it's a call, and I expect him to be ready by then. So let's get to some of your comments. Mello said, I'd rather West debut against the Crows. Look, judging the fact that now, I was all for him debuting against Fremantle. I even put a video up on it. That was my theory. That was my thoughts because he was managed. I was putting 2 and 2 together, and it was going to happen. Fly said that today, that it was going to happen. The biggest problem was just the cloud in regards to his foot. So he probably will play against the Crows. Great news about Titch playing VFL this weekend. As we just said, very good. Nick has turned around and said, I reckon the game might be the one where Houston hits that next level. So I said it in my review. Dan Houston was Mr. Butterfingers against Geelong. Every time he went for the ball, it took like 2 or 3 goes to get it. When he got the ball and he disposed of it and he did his thing, it was just perfect, yeah? But he just needed to take it on the first go. So, and I said in my review, you can't play against Port Adelaide every single week. You know what I mean? So I think now, yeah, you kicked a nice goal. You've done a few nice things with the management of the players and the caliber of player you are. Finger out of the arse and let's go for it. That's how I would look at it anyway. Boza Tomic is playing VFL this weekend. Very happy. Peter, my man, don't move Frampton. We did that last year. Lost all his form of confidence after was playing well at fullback. Rather play Hale forward. That's true as well. Well, 100% that's true as well. You know what? Frampton hasn't been our worst player, and I actually didn't think he was that bad against Geelong. He went in there, he spoiled, he took some nice marks, he got the ball, he cleared it out. His disposal wasn't that bad. It wasn't 100% disposal efficiency, but I think it was about 85%. If someone wants to check it out in the app, let me know, but I think that's what I saw last time. I wouldn't want to flirt with his form. So when I got told that today, I was a little bit skeptical about it, but it is what it is. I mean, they probably just did it for the training drill anyway, but ever since halftime of the game against Carlton, right, because that first half against Carlton, he was fucking woeful, man, seriously. But ever since halftime of the Carlton game, he has not put a foot wrong. And it's sad because it took Reef McGuinness to do his knee for that to happen. So, but he would have got his chance later during the season. So, yeah, if Frams goes forward, maybe he chops out in the ruck. And then where does that leave Cox? I don't think he is. But if it was, then if he was going to go forward, I don't think Cox would play. So that's my theory on that too. If he was going to go forward, Cox doesn't play. Because then you can just put Howard down back. So, yeah. 32 degrees on Thursday. Yuck. Fuck, don't say that. Although it was hot in Adelaide. It was hot in Brisbane, and we ended up snapping the last two grand finalists where the sun don't shine. I think we need Frampton on Tracy. Potentially. I mean, it's there. So Port Adelaide and GWS are keen. Is that for Brayden Maynard? Sorry, I am catching up with the comments. I know I've been talking a lot, so I will go through thing. So I'm going to just probably scroll down a few of them. So if I miss anything and you want me to read it out, just go. This comment here, I mean, I don't know if you're a Collingwood supporter saying this, but you got Fremantle are going to feel very disrespected by Fly resting so many players. Who gives a fuck? Like, no offense, but who cares if Fremantle feel disrespected? Fremantle should feel disrespected in themselves for that putrid performance they put up against St Kilda. I'm not going to hold back either because I personally reckon that we're going to slap them. So that's just my thing. Everybody's a bit, I don't know, but whatever. West, Hayes, and Dean all travelled to Perth. I think Hayes more would have travelled to Perth anyway to probably see his folks, but to put him as an emergency. So, I mean, he's probably someone who I actually wouldn't mind debuting or maybe even chucking in as a sub, but I've got my theory on the sub, and you'll get that in about half an hour's time, and I'm probably going to get slaughtered for it, but yeah. Matty, what have you got for me? He goes, their ball user Young is injured. He was the number one. I was worried if we can stop Tracy and fast Freddie and control Sarong and Brayshaw will be fine. Yeah, I don't know about Frederick. I think he's useless. I don't think that guy's actually washed his. I don't think Freddie's kit has been washed in the last 2 weeks because he hasn't even gone to get a hard ball get. So anyway, probably doesn't even have to. All right, I'll go through just going through the last bits of the thing. I reckon all these comments are pretty much like what I've spoken about. So that's been great. All right, so with this Freo game, look, I'll give you my predictions and stuff like that and how I think and this obviously being my preview for tomorrow, but just with the side that we've got in, everyone's talking about the lack of experience now. You know, Pendles is coming out. But this is my train of thought, and I want to hear what you guys think because I'm going to say it in my review tomorrow. Pendles is out. DeGoey's not playing. Maynard's not playing, right? Now, and my check, whatever, it's a straight swap replacement in my check for whoever comes in. But let's just worry about these three at the start. Pendlebury, DeGoey, and Bruzzy. Now, which one of them is lightning quick? Which one of Pendlebury, DeGoey, and Bruzzy is absolutely lightning quick? Maynard's fast, but he's not lightning quick. He's a tackle bull. You've got Bo McCurry in the team. That's that. Take it out of it. Pendlebury's not quick, but he's smart. He's silky. His pinpoint accuracy. He knows what he's doing. You got the Dacos boys still in there, and side bottom, and Ned Long, right? The last one is Jordan DeGoey. Jordan DeGoey has bursts of speeds, but he doesn't have the endurance to last the whole time. We're bringing in players like Ed Allen, who can run all day long, and he's quick. His disposal is a bit iffy, but he's quick. We're probably going to play Markov. Markov's quick, and his disposal is nowhere near worse than the others. And then you're bringing in Sullivan, who's, when he's got the ball, he's pretty quick too. So my theory is we're going to run these guys off their feet because they look crap against St Kilda. I know they're going to come out, they lost, this is that, blah, 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 their home ground, whatever. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to say this tomorrow in my thing, so make sure you watch it. But I think we're just going to run them off their feet, and we're just going to keep that up for the 4 quarters. I know it's easier said than done, but that's how we're going to beat them. Just fast ball movement, play the wings, play our style. Optus Stadium is so much similar to the MCG, and I think that's going to work in our favour, something vicious. So I'm really, really looking forward to that, and I think that's how we're going to beat them. The last thing too, our goal kicking. Our goal kicking has let us down. It let us down against GWS. Our goal kicking let us down against Bulldogs. Our goal kicking let us down against Carlton. Our goal kicking let us down against Geelong. There were times against Brisbane with Mason Cox, obviously. We should have put these sides away. Like, it's so frustrating. Like, it drains me talking about it because it's like the most fundamental part of a forward line or midfielder. Like, you get your opportunity, you're 35 metres out directly in front of goal. And I'm not talking about Jack in front of goal at the end of the game. I'm not talking about that. That's not in my discussions whatsoever. My discussions are still side bottom, my check, even players like Lockie Schultz against Carlton, players like DeGoey when we played against Bulldogs, fucking Jamie Elliott. Come on, man. Like, you can kick in clutch moments, in the car park or whatever it is, in front of the bars, standing on someone's head in the crowd, you can probably kick it. But what gets me the most is just like, you need to, the easy ones in front of goal, we've got to put away. You're 50 metres out, you're 45 metres out, you're 35 metres out, you're 20 metres out. You're in that, within the, like, point post to point post of, going straight in there and just fucking kick it, man. Like, you kick those goals and none of these comebacks against the Bulldogs happen. You kick those goals against Essendon at the start of in the second quarter. It probably doesn't even happen, it probably they probably don't even have that little comeback. But it is what it is. It happens to everybody. I get it, but it's just frustrating from a Collingwood point of view that it seems to happen every game. Like, give us a couple of games like we did against Richmond in that Pineapple Cup game where we just could not miss. So yeah, anyway, I'll go to some comments quickly because they're popping out. They're popping out left, right, and centre. Chris Cassett's made some comments. Brother save it. It happens to the best of the best, bro. Move on. Yeah, I get that, but like, it shouldn't happen to us every single week. And that's my point. Like, it does happen. And I understand that, like, we have like games where, every club's got them, but when you've got good forwards and you've got some of the best forwards in the competition, you should be able to do that and not have it every single week, almost. Once a week, like one game, once every third game. Okay, you get it. But I'm talking like 80% of our games so far, we've missed easy opportunities for goal. So that's my point. Imagine if we were top 3 for accuracy. Well, our percentage would be a lot better. We've got here, Membry is our best set shot. Yes, I'm sort of seeing that at the moment. I'm seeing that Membry is probably one of our most reliable in front of goal, which is nice to see. Manny said our goal kicking has been horrific from the practice games against Richmond, and I was watching it hoping it wasn't going to be that bad, but that's what the pressure of a real game does. Yeah, 100%. 100% that is. Elliot and Shooter not making distance inside 50 kills me. Like, if you're kicking it from 50 on 50, I get it. Like, especially if they like make the distance and they miss, it's like, all right, it's whatever. But if you're not making the distance as a forward 50 meters out, then that's probably a little bit of an issue there. But at the same time, it happens to everybody. So love the channel, and I'm a Psycho Pies fan too, but let it go, bro. Happens to the best of us. No, I get that. I understand that. But every week is what I'm saying. It's like 80% of our matches, we've missed some really gettable goals. So that's the part that I'm frustrated with. Remember, he's going to have a breakout game. He will be the focal tall. I reckon someone by the name of Mason Cox might be the focal tall. And it's quite obvious. I think it's quite obvious to everybody who watches my channel. I'm a big, big Mason fan. I'm a big fan of the big American. I just, if Mason Cox kicks those goals against Brisbane, the perception of him this season is completely different to, oh, he's only in because McStay's out. I think that's something that, I think that's something that we have to remember as well. Peter says Bobby Hill needs to impact the score sheet. It's an interesting one with Hill. It's a very interesting one with Bobby because his pressure against Geelong was fantastic. Like the pressure that he put on to the opposition, like he didn't obviously, do a hell of a lot, but the pressure that he put on against Geelong, even the tackle that didn't get rewarded, if you watch the way he ran and the speed that he came on, we need to see someone like a Beau McCreary do that more often because he's capable of it, not just in patches. You know what I mean? It has to be a little bit more. So that's what I'm looking at from a fan's perspective, I suppose. Bobby will kick 4. Look, I'm thinking because it's back at his home that he probably will have the chance to show up, and I reckon it could be his. No, I reckon he's the one that I've got highlighted. I want to talk about very soon to really dominate this game and sort of put it to bed nice and early. Because Freo are going to come at us pretty hard at the start. If Harvey was playing, Bobby would be under the pump. Harvey Harrison. If Harvey Harrison was ready to go, someone by the name of Beau McCreary would be under the pump. I'm very critical of Beau because I think he's such a good player. So, yeah, guys, I'm going to do my big call now because I've sort of covered as much as possible. But I was going to do it right towards the end. I've got about 20 minutes or so left, but I'm going to do it now. My big call of the night, my big call of the week, brought to you by Hopper Bros Barbecue. Make sure you visit our sponsors on Instagram. So make sure you visit the Hopper Bros Barbecue and also New Homes Victoria. My big call for the week is Beau McCreary will start a sub this week against Fremantle. And I got my reasoning for it. Some people will be like, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. My reasoning is I don't think he's taking it seriously enough. Now, I know it sounds stupid and stuff like that. I know, but I think he's just too casual. I think he's just too relaxed. And then he'll just go hard when he has to do whatever. The game against, and I'll give you examples. There was moments against Geelong where he just looked out of sorts, and we could talk about Tagoe 100%, but I'm not because he's not playing this week. But I think he's in that same bracket. I feel like sometimes he's maybe 1 or 2 steps behind when he hasn't got the ball. And when he hasn't got the ball, I think he's actually the most dangerous because he's the pressure he puts on the opposition, his tackling pressure, his bumps, even when he does get the ball and he's just part of he's just part of like a link chained handball. He's very dangerous. And you want him, if he's going to get, so look, if you go through his disposals, like he might have a game where he gets like 10 disposals, 12 disposals, 9 disposals, 8 disposals. I said this at the start of the year when I put him in my player spotlight on my videos before the season started. Beau needs to be hitting 15 to 20 disposals a game and needs to be hitting the score sheet at least with 1 goal a game. If Beau McCreary has games where he's got 15 disposals and a goal, right? Those 15 disposals can be linked, hand passes or whatever. But if he's impacting the score sheet as well as his pressure off the ball, he is just as valuable to us as someone like a Jordan to go when he's peaking. So, and there's an argument here, and I've just seen Mick Sacker put it up too, and I was thinking about it before. Bo tagged LDU in the second half of that North game, in that North comeback game last year. 100%, we could be using Bo McCreary as a tagger because he's fast. He's a bull with the tackle. He can wear someone like a glove. I just want to see him. My big call is that he'll probably start as a sub, but then I'm seeing here that Sullivan will potentially be the sub, and I get that too. Sullivan will be the sub. Fly could be using the ins this week, the trade bait example. Sullivan, yeah, there's a theory for that too. That's crossed my mind as well. I still think Ed Allen is the biggest trade bait that we've got and actually worth something at the moment. So could Bo go back to and take Maynard's spot? I think Bo's better forward of the ball instead of running back. I think he's most dangerous getting the ball from the centre moving forward as opposed to getting it from the half back and getting it into the middle. But yeah, look, my big call is Bo McCreary should start a sub. He's probably not going to start as a sub. It'll be either Will Hoskin, Elliott, Sullivan, or potentially a Markov. But yeah, I'd like to see a boot up his ass by the coaching staff, just to remind him that, hey, yeah, you're a premiership player. Yeah, you're a gun, right? But at the same time, no one's spot in this team is guaranteed, because as soon as the youngsters come up and they start putting pressure on Steele and Pendles, nobody in the team is safe regardless. And that's literally probably going to be, I reckon, within the next 2 or 3 months away from happening if we don't manage it right. So, yeah, that's my theory. We've got Manny here says, I think it'd be hard to be a high half forward in our team. The forwards are not allowed to swap sides. They must stay in the structure, and that's why Bobby goes quiet sometimes. I also think Bobby is, when he's, this is going to sound really harsh because he's a Norm Smith medalist, but this is just my observation. I think when he's not impacting the game a lot, he starts to do what Ginnivan did sometimes, and that's just cherry pick off the back of the pack. When he does do the cherry picking and he does something and he kicks that goal like he did against Essendon, then all of a sudden his confidence is up and he's unstoppable. We just need that from the start, I think. So I know it's a harsh call, but it's just from what I've observed. Sometimes he can go missing a little bit in games, but I think this game against Freo in Perth has got Bobby Hill dominating all over it. And I'm not even talking about the impact that Lockie Schultz is going to have against his old side. I'm not even talking about Jamie Elliott, who I think is going to be a mad danger for him as well. So I think we're going to be we're okay when it comes to the team that we've selected, regardless of like 800 games experience gone missing. Mick said Bo's living the high life with his model girlfriend these days. Look, I don't really want to comment too much on people's personal lives and stuff like that, because everyone's got one and everyone's allowed to post and do whatever they want. And if he's happy, that's fine. I just hope that he's that happy outside of football that he can bring it obviously into football and just start dominating. Really, I just really want to see. I just want to see what he can do against Freo, because I think if he has a big game. I just don't see us losing. So I just hope number 14, or was this one? Sorry. Bozza said, I hope Bobby Hill plays like he did when it was the Indigenous versus Fremantle, not the Indigenous versus All Stars. Look, I'm hoping so too, and I've got my hopes sort of set on it. I've got my hopes sort of set on he comes in with the same sort of attitude and stuff like that. But that being said, he just signed a contract for us. This is his home now. We're his home, and there's no reason for him to play any different or have any sort of different mindset, regardless if he's playing at his hometown. But we're his home now. I think that's something that, I just love saying, because he's just a gun. So let's just hope number 14 ump's not umpiring or we're screwed. Look, I'll talk about the umpiring. I wasn't going to do it, but I just don't want to. I don't want to. You know what? I'm not going to do it because I don't want to come across as a sook. And I had my rant in the video that I did, but some of these decisions, mate, I'm moving on. I knew I was going to start getting agitated and stuff doing this live, but I've moved on from it. It is what it is. I mean, the Dogs got a bit of a rough end of the stick against us, even though those free kicks were there. But I think it's worth. I'll read this one out. Hang on a second. I'll read this one out. What was Peter? Peter said, he goes, leave the umps alone. We have our good and bad games. Okay. If we had full-time umpires, maybe it would be different. But anyway, put McCreary in the midfield for patches. Give him a handful of minutes in there in a quarter. We'll probably get a couple of clearances from a quarter by the way he attacks the ball. Yeah, 100%. So Bo tends to play very similar to what Nick Dacos did, the same sort of role when Nick Dacos first came into the club when our midfield was stacked and he was trying to work his way in there, which once he did, it was fine, where he'd start on the half-back line and then obviously push up into the middle and push up into the stoppages. If you watch the way Bo McCreary plays, if he starts off on the half-forward flank, which he does most of the time, or even if he starts on the bench and comes on and he goes onto the half-forward flank, once he actually does that, he then pushes into all the stoppages and he becomes that extra fifth midfielder. So I think that's something that and when you're at the games and you're on TV, watch it and see what he does. He does it very well. So that's why, and I think when he impacts the play, he's usually part of that. Lipinski gets the ball, hand passes to McCreary then hand passes off to Josh, and then Josh or Nick goes straight back into the forward line. He's part of that sort of dynamic with De Goey and stuff, because you see a lot of the 1-2 hand passes between McCreary and De Goey a lot during the games when De Goey does play. Actually, that's something that we'll talk about now too. So the whole Jordan De Goey fiasco. So obviously the way that he's played over the past, or so let's just say all this season, he's had games where pretty much all his games where he's had no major impact, game-changing moments, or actually no, he has had game-changing moments. It's not like he's done like a Nick Dacos or a Josh Dacos or, played like a Jack Crisp all day running and all that type of stuff. But you still, and Jared Waitley says it the best on SEN, you have your De Goey moments. You have moments like it was against Essendon where, he might be part of a link-up chain, or Nick Dacos does his magic and then De Goey's ready there. You saw it last year against Adelaide where, he was playing injured and he was able to play in the forward line and kick the winning goal. The game against Brisbane, he started off that first half was really, really poor from De Goey. And then he comes out in the second half and kicks 2 goals, 2 important goals. When Brisbane looked as if, or the first one he kicked, it looked as if Brisbane were, hang on a second, they get the next couple here and they've got momentum, then he kicks a goal. Then he kicks a goal to seal it at the end. He's got these moments. He's got these things. And I think that managing him for this game is great. Probably not a good game to take him to and travel with. So, if he's back next week and stuff against Adelaide, I think that'll be really good, because Adelaide are obviously a very fast side. And, you need to play him. You can't play De Goey in the twos. You can't risk, I know to get match fit and stuff like that, but you can't risk putting him in the twos. It serves no purpose, because then he could turn around and get 40 touches in the twos and kick 6 goals. But then all of a sudden, the last 5 minutes, he's rolled his ankle and he's out for 6 weeks. There's no point risking him in that side of things. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts on De Goey. Probably good to rest him. I just really want to see players now, because we've taken some players out. I want to see the guys that are trying to cement themselves in the side, the guys coming into the side. I want to see them step it up in this game. I want to see how bad do you want this spot, and are you good enough to take this spot away from a club legend like a Pendlebury, a Sidebottom, or whatever? Are you good enough to say, boys, come with me and let me show you what I've got? I fucking sound like David King when I said that, sorry, but I desperately want to see that, because if we see that, let's just say this game out of nowhere, Sullivan and Ed Allen, right, have blinders, they just dominate, yeah? This whole narrative, Collingwood are old, Collingwood are slow, Collingwood haven't got, are their backup stocks any good? It changes in one game. It changes one game. So, Mick Saka, there you go. Ed Allen, show us what you got. Exactly. Manny said he had to, and I should have said before, the 2 goals against Carlton to break the game open in the third quarter. That was massive. You know, the third quarter against Geelong, I mean, 20 points up, and still it frustrates me, man. Like, we had the opportunity and we were doing the same things that we did against the Dogs, the same thing we did against Carlton. We're about to break the game open. To Geelong's credit, they just kept nitpicking. But anyway, don't worry about that now. It's done. There's been a lot of the vibe on social media and the vibe from some Collingwood supporters talking to them and stuff is they're very worried that we're just throwing this game away. We're throwing this game away against Fremantle. I think this game, we're not throwing it away at all. I think it's a real big opportunity for us to show what we are capable of doing with our youngsters in the side. I think that's a massive thing for us. And also trying our best to keep the dynamic of the side with the changes going is something massive, because if we tinker with our form too much, we can really cost us moving forward. Now, we are entering the next block of games. We are entering a time of the year where every single game for us is winnable, but it's also just as losable. So, you know, and Stuart has a really good point. Thank you for joining, Stuart. Not throwing away. We're testing our depth. 100% we are. We are testing our depth, and we haven't even really gone that deep into it. We're just sort of touching that first layer, and it's not even from injuries. It's just give him a break, come in. Give him a break, come in. It's not like, oh, shit, he's injured, and we're going to bring 6 or 7 different blokes in who haven't played before or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's another thing too. George says, don't make predications. Okay. So Stephanus said, there is more to our team than just the senior players' chance for the future to shine. 100% it is. And imagine the warning signs coming up if it turns around and says, hey, we've got these youngsters who have barely played, or these guys who are sort of like the list cloggers of our team that come out and dominate. You know what I mean? Marcus said, we're not throwing the game away. We are proving that our system works no matter who is playing. And Peter's right here. Like, the coaches know what they're doing, and this is why I go back to the very start of this live when I started talking about Tom Mitchell. There is room for him in this team while we're managing and moving the magnets. And if something was to happen to a player, to get an injury to a midfielder, where to get an injury even to a forward pocket or something like that, all of a sudden Tom Mitchell's available. You could rotate the magnets and put it in there because we've got that depth, which I think is fantastic. So, that's something that we really, it's so good to have that this season. And I don't want our luck sort of to run out in that sense straight away. But I just, as long as we can really manage it the way they're doing now, and this is the first time that we're really seeing, apart from last week with Howard, the first time we're really seeing these players get managed, it can work to our favour quite well. Manny says we have to rest the players before they break down, and then we're in big trouble. We are, but the good parties have also got that bye in the middle of the season. And I think out of all the years that we've had the bye around the King's birthday game, I think this is the one that we're going to appreciate the most. So yeah. Now, Mix also said, no other team really impresses me so far. We have a golden opportunity for 17. If you really want to talk about a team that's impressed me, something vicious, is the Western Bulldogs. I think if the Western Bulldogs can get their rhythm going a lot, especially towards the end of the season, and potentially they've got to get Cody Waitman back in, and they've got to get Sam Darcy back in. If they can get those two back in, they're probably the one team that I'm really worried about if we do make the finals, which I think we will. They're the one team I don't want to meet. Well, if we have to, we have to. But I'd rather play Hawthorn, to be honest, than the Dogs. I just think they're a different breed this year. No pun intended with dog breeds, but they're just a little bit different this year. They're the one team that think. And look, last year I said, and before we finish off the live, I did say this last year to a lot of my mates. I felt last year was probably the weakest premiership that we've seen in a long time, as in the sense of like the teams that like were pushing for it. Like, I thought Sydney were not that much chop. We played them towards the end of the season and we just lost. Brisbane, we had them covered and we still do, regardless. And they went on to win the flag. For us, there's just games like obviously that Sydney game. the start of the season last year. I know we move on and stuff like that, but my point is, last year the premiership was very weak in that sense. There wasn't a standout side like there was when us in 2011 with Geelong, Collingwood and St Kilda in 2010, Collingwood and Geelong and St Kilda in 09, Hawthorn in 08, the same as Richmond in 17, 19, 20, and 18 as well. There's no real side last season that was like that. You move over to this season, and I find that I think there's us, Brisbane, Geelong, and the Bulldogs are probably the 4 seeds that I think can win the premiership at this point. GWS, I did my predicted ladder at the start of the season, and I had GWS falling out of the 8. I'm not going to lie, at the start of the season, I was a bit like, I stuffed that one up. But you're starting to see the thing. Their midfield is a bit funny. They don't have a designated ruckman. Like, I know they got Briggs in ruck, but he's not that good. Lockie Keefe is pinch hitting. They're probably going to have to get Cadman to go in the ruck soon. He's just, with the way they're forward, he's not doing anything. He's probably one of the most useless number 1 draft picks since Andrew McGrath, to be honest. But that's just my personal opinion. Before we finish up, just wanted to say that we are currently sitting on about 879, 880 subscribers. Please recommend my channel to all your family, to all your friends. Get people on board, get people to subscribe to the channel. I want to try and hit 1,000 subscribers by the mid-season buy. If we do that, then I will be doing a giveaway. I'll be doing a giveaway with one of the subscribers will win a ticket to come to a Collingwood game with me, and we'll do a match day vlog and stuff, which I'll be posting on my YouTube channel. So we'll do that after we hit 1,000. So if it's only about 120 something more to go. So if people can just pump this out as much as possible, that'd be fantastic. We have hoodies available still over there. I'm not wearing the hoodie tonight only because it's a bit warm in here. The missus got the heater on, and they're nice and warm. They're really good for winter. So I'm just wearing this one because it's a bit light. Otherwise, I'll be sweating bullets. So we've got hoodies available. So they're all in the bio, the links in my YouTube bio and stuff like that. So go ahead and pick one up. They're about $65 off the top of my head. You get sizes from small to 3 extra large. The next thing also too is I wanted to just let you guys know just in advance, and I'll probably be telling you guys moving forward, is after the Hawthorn game, I'll be going overseas with my wife for about 4 weeks. You won't be getting any lives on Tuesday nights and stuff, but I will be doing one video per week, which will be a review and a preview together for the game that's passed and them. So that'll pretty much happen from after the Hawthorn game to the West Coast game at Marvel. I'll be overseas. We're going to Spain. We're going to Greece. We're just getting away for a bit, which I think is much needed. So you'll still be getting content, so don't stress. But that's what I'll be doing. So I wanted to put that out there now. I did my big call. Bowman Crew should start as a sub. I want to see a rocket up his ass. I want to see players, just not think that their spot in our team, and this goes for when we're winning, not when we drop a game too. I just want to see our players on our team know that your spot is not guaranteed, because there are premiership players. There are premiership players that are sitting on the sidelines. Someone like a Markov who's ready to go, which is something that I honestly can't wait to see. Stuart says here, Mick says here, where are you going? So I'm going to Madrid and going to Barcelona, and then heading up to the village to the Horio in Greece to see the Rellos, which should be nice. And then we're not doing much of the islands and stuff. Where my family's from in northern Greece is on the peninsula in Halkidiki. It's the first leg called Cassandra. That's pretty much smack bang in the Mediterranean. So it's barely cheap up there, and the views are even better, which is great. So love both yourself and Anthony. Great content. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to let you guys go from here, but let's just hope that the moving of the magnets, so to speak, doesn't affect. Let's just hope that it doesn't affect the momentum and the dynamic of the team moving forward. That's probably the biggest thing that I don't want to happen. But you got to manage the players for us to obviously move forward and get the wins. You're going to have to manage these players. If it doesn't tinker with the form, I am all for it. But I just hope that we see these guys obviously really, really kickstart this part of the season now and try and lock up a top 4 spot within the next month and a half of football, really, because to be honest with you, I don't really think there's much chop from about 6th down. Anyway, you know what time it is? Make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you tell me what you think. And always remember to call it as you see it. And as always, Skater Pies.